The Constitutional Court in the Democratic Republic of Congo has ruled that the Electoral Commission can postpone the presidential election, which was due to take place in November. The Electoral Commission petitioned the court on September the 17th, prompting 2 days of deadly street protests between opposition activists and security forces. At least 50 people are now reported to have died in the clashes, most of them civilians.
The Constitutional Court in the Democratic Republic of Congo on Monday approved a petition by the Electoral Commission to delay a presidential election set for November.
After listening to the Prosecutor General, I declared the request to be competent and grounded and take charge of the impossibility for the Electoral Commission to organize a vote planned on its February 12, 2015 date for all the reasons the Commission stated.
The ruling allows, in principle, for President Joseph Kabila to remain in office until April 2018. The president was due to step down in December when his two-term mandate expires, and his opponents say they fear he intends to first prolong his term in office and then change the constitution to enable him to run again. The ruling coalition and part of the opposition say the vote should be held in April 2018, and on Monday the agreement was ratified by delegates at the cross-party talks in the capital. But most opposition parties have boycotted the talks and called for a general strike on Wednesday to put pressure on Kabila. They are likely to be further angered because the court appeared to breach its own quorum rules in reaching Monday's decision. Meanwhile, European Union foreign ministers say they will prepare economic sanctions against Congo unless it holds presidential and parliamentary elections next year.
We have also looked at all the instruments at our disposal to help end the violence and to encourage a political climate that is more constructive than today. This is the decision we took. Some decisions, I believe, are already in the public domain. It was an important decision and a consensual decision which we debated and took in the council.
Kabila says he will respect the constitution but has not made clear if he plans to find a way to run again. Last year, the presidents of neighboring Congo Republic and Rwanda won referendums to change their constitution to stand for third terms.
Meanwhile, the International Criminal Court says it is concerned about last month's deadly clashes in the DRC. In a statement, the ICC says the chief prosecutor of the court, Fatou Bensouda, has sent a mission to the DRC to urge restraint after weeks of deadly protest. This comes after 20 people died in 3 days of ethnic clashes between Pygmies and Bantus in Kabalo in southeastern DRC. The violence broke out following a dispute over the caterpillar harvest, a common food staple in the Tanganyika region in northern Katanga. Well, let's get more of the story from the viewers. William Chloe in the DRC. You're welcome to the program, William. So how are people reacting to the court's decision to grant approval to the Electoral Commission to delay the presidential election?
Well, we'll find out tomorrow, really, because a protest has been called by the opposition to, as a reaction to in fact, another part of the opposition and the government, of which the main opposition coalition disapproves. So tomorrow they call a general strike, and we will see how many people will follow the commands of the opposition.
So is the government going to allow these protests to hold, or have the police been ordered to clamp down on protesters?
Well, in fact, they're not protests as in street demonstrations. What they called is something called a journée ville morte, which is a general strike. It means Day of Dead City. So they encourage parents not to send their children to school, they encourage traders not to set up their stalls, and they encourage public workers not to go to work. This is probably quite sensible rather than doing a street protest, because in light of last month's protests in which 50 people died, the governor of Kinshasa has actually banned street protests. So this is probably a good way of avoiding more bloodshed while still expressing opposition to the government's decisions.
But has the government taken any steps to forestall this demonstration tomorrow?
Not at this point, because it's sort of the opposite of a demonstration. They have to encourage people to come to work and come to school instead. So, in fact, it'll probably be more of a sort of battle to control the narrative. Each side will try and declare the other side the loser. The government will say that everyone ignored their call for a strike, and the opposition will likely say that everyone heeded their call for a strike.
Now, European Union foreign ministers have agreed to prepare economic sanctions against the DRC unless it holds presidential and parliamentary elections next year. How is the government reacting to this?
The government's view, the American government did the same thing a couple of months ago, and the government's view is always that these kind of sanctions are an unmerited imposition in their sovereign affairs. They may respond with similar measures against European Union officials, such as curtailing European diplomats' rights of visas, and you can expect a lot of tough rhetoric about foreign interference.
Now, of course, this whole protest has been over fears that President Kabila intends to prolong his term in office and then change the constitution to enable him contest again. Has the president actually sought to allay the fears of people that this is not actually the case?
Sort of. He says nothing personally. He's a famously taciturn man. He never doesn't talk much. But his diplomatic advisor says he won't seek to change the constitution and stand again. However, many people don't believe him. They see the examples of Rwanda and Congo-Brazzaville, and they suspect that he will also try and do the same thing. This accord signed today will worry them because, contrary to a draft report published 2 weeks ago, this version has no reference to the next elections having to take place under the current constitution, which will alarm some people in the opposition and the international community that a possible constitutional change might be back on the agenda.
Now, finally, William, before I let you go, what are the reasons that were given by the Electoral Commission for postponing the elections?
What are the reasons for what? Sorry,
what are the reasons given by the Electoral Commission for postponing the elections?
Right. Yes. The reasons they give are that there have been technical and financial problems, that they haven't been given enough money to fulfill their duties, and that there was a 2-year-long war against the M23 rebel group in 2012 to 2014, which the government also diverted money away from the electoral budget towards fighting a war. So as far as the Electoral Commission is concerned, and as far as the government is concerned, this is in no way deliberate. It's just an unforeseen result of technical and financial difficulties.
Well, William, thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa. The International Criminal Court says Burundi's plan to withdraw from The Hague is a setback to the fight against impunity. Last week, Burundi's parliament approved a cabinet plan to cut ties with a Hague-based court. Former Senegalese Justice Minister Sidiki Kaba, who heads the ICC governing body, called on Burundi to discuss its concerns rather than pull out of the court. Last year, African Union heads of state approved a proposal to look at ways that Africa can leave the ICC as a bloc. This is due to complaints that the court unfairly targets African leaders.